You can't reason with a man who's already decided to die. That's what made the Kamikazes so terrifying. It wasn't just that they were trying to kill you. Every enemy pilot was trying to do that. It was that they'd already accepted their own death, embraced it, aimed their entire plane at your ship like a guided missile made of aluminum and high explosives and human will. You couldn't scare them off, couldn't make them break away. They were already dead men flying. They just hadn't hit the water yet. My name is Marcus Webb, Petty Officer First Class, United States Navy. I was a gunner on the USS Laffey, a destroyer in the Pacific Fleet. 22 years old in the spring of 1945, from a small town in Georgia, where the biggest excitement was usually the county fair. By April 1945, I'd been in the Pacific for 18 months, seen action at Leyte Gulf, Lingayen, Iwo Jima. The Laffey was a good ship, Allen M. Sumner-class destroyer, commissioned in early 1944. Fast, well-armed, good crew. We'd been through hell together and come out the other side. I was a gunner on one of the 20-millimeter anti-aircraft mounts. My battle station was on the starboard side, exposed to the elements, but with a good field of fire. I'd shot down 3 Japanese planes over the course of the war. Confirmed kills. Was proud of that. Each one felt like revenge for Pearl Harbor, for all the guys who didn't make it. But the Kamikazes were different. They started appearing in October 1944 during the Battle of Leyte Gulf. At first, we thought they were just damaged planes trying to do maximum damage before going down. Then we realized they were doing it on purpose, deliberately crashing into our ships. Suicide attacks. The divine wind, they called it. Kamikaze. Special attack units of pilots who volunteered to die for the Emperor. Young guys, most of them, barely trained, just enough flight instruction to take off and aim at a target. They didn't need to know how to land. We'd seen it happen to other ships, watched kamikazes slam into destroyers, cruisers, carriers, saw the explosions, the fires, the casualties. But the Laffey had been lucky so far. We'd fought off attacks, shot down planes before they could reach us. Our luck was about to run out. April 16th, 1945. We were on radar picket duty off Okinawa. Basically, we were the early warning system, positioned between the island and the Japanese airfields to the north, meant to detect incoming raids and vector our fighters to intercept them. Important duty, dangerous duty. We called it Coffin Corner. The invasion of Okinawa was in full swing. The Japanese were throwing everything they had at us. Conventional air attacks, kamikazes, everything. They knew if we took Okinawa, we'd be close enough to launch an invasion of the home islands. This was their last stand. That morning started quiet, beautiful even. Clear skies, calm seas. We were about 30 miles north of Okinawa, just cruising in our patrol sector. Some of the guys were playing cards between watches. Others were writing letters home. Normal stuff. I was cleaning my gun, routine maintenance, making sure the ammunition feed was clear, the barrel clean. You take care of your weapon takes care of you. Around 0830 hours, the radar picked up bogies, lots of them, coming from the north. General quarters sounded. We all ran to our battle stations. The radar was showing at least 50 contacts, maybe more, all heading our direction. Our combat air patrol, the fighters that were supposed to protect us, they scrambled to intercept. We could hear the chatter over the radio, pilots calling out targets, engaging the enemy. But there were too many, way too many. The first wave came in around 900 hours. I saw them on the horizon, dark specks against the morning sky, coming fast. Our 5-inch guns opened up, sending up flak bursts. The 40-millimeter mounts joined in, then us on the 20-millimeter guns, firing as fast as we could load. The noise was incredible. Every gun on the ship firing at once, shells exploding in the air, the deck vibrating under your feet from the recoil. You couldn't think, could barely hear, just aimed and fired and prayed. The first kamikaze came straight at us, a Zero diving out of the sun. Our forward guns tracked him, shells bursting all around, but he kept coming. Kept coming. I could see the red circles on his wings, see the pilot in the cockpit. He was aiming for the bridge. Every gun that could bear on him was firing, traces streaming up. The 40-millimeter mount forward got a solid burst into him, saw pieces fly off his wing, but he didn't break off, didn't even waver. He hit us just aft of the bridge. The explosion threw me against the bulkhead behind my gun mount. My ears were ringing. Smoke and flames erupted from the impact point. Men were screaming, but we didn't have time to assess damage. More were coming. A Valdive bomber came in from the port side. The port guns got him, blew him apart maybe 200 yards out. His wreckage splashed into the water, sending up a huge column of spray. Then another Zero from starboard. I was on him, firing, walking my tracers toward him. Got hits, saw them sparking off his engine cowling. But he kept coming. These bastards kept coming. He was close enough that I could see his face. Young guy. Couldn't have been more than 20. He had a white headband tied around his helmet. His face was calm, almost peaceful. He wasn't afraid. He wanted this. My gun jammed. The belt twisted in the feed mechanism. I was frantically trying to clear it, knowing I had maybe 3 seconds before he hit us. The 40-millimeter mount next to me got him, blew his wing off. The plane cartwheeled and missed us by maybe 50 feet, slamming into the water on our starboard side. Got the jam cleared. Started firing again. There were more coming. Always more coming. A third kamikaze came in low, just above the wave tops, trying to get under our guns. The forward mounts were depressing as far as they could, firing into the water ahead of him, trying to get him with the splashes, if nothing else. He pulled up at the last second, aimed right for us. This time nobody got him in time. He hit us amidships. The explosion was massive. I felt the ship shudder. More flames, more smoke. The acrid smell of burning fuel and scorched metal. We'd been hit twice in the first 10 minutes, and they were still coming. I could see more dots in the sky. Could hear the radio chatter. Our CAP was running low on ammunition, low on fuel. Some were breaking off to return to base. We were on our own. Lieutenant Commander Beckton, our skipper, was on the 1MC, the ship's intercom, his voice steady despite everything. All hands, this is the captain. We will not be sunk. Keep firing. Keep fighting. We will not be sunk. His calm gave us strength. We kept firing. A fourth kamikaze came in. This one was a Judy dive bomber, bigger than the Zeros, more explosives on board. Every gun on the ship that could still fire was tracking him. We poured everything we had into him. I emptied an entire belt. 200 rounds, saw hits all over him. His canopy shattered. His engine started smoking, but he kept coming. He was going to hit us. I knew it. We all knew it. At the last possible second, maybe 100 feet out, something we hit must have killed the pilot or damaged the controls. The plane nosed down hard, hit the water just in front of us. The explosion from the impact and his bombs going off sent a wall of water over the bow, drenched everyone on the forward deck, but we were still afloat, still fighting. I looked at my watch. It was 09:25 hours. We'd been under attack for 25 minutes. It felt like hours. And it wasn't over. Not even close. The attacks kept coming in waves. As soon as we'd fight off one group, another would appear on the horizon. A fifth kamikaze hit us at 09:45, crashed into the fantail, destroying our aft 5-inch mount. The explosion killed everyone in that gun crew. 10 men, good men. Guys I'd shared meals with, stood watches with, and no time to mourn, more planes incoming. The ship was on fire in multiple places. Damage control parties were fighting the blazes, but we were taking water through the holes in our hull. The Laffey was listing to port. Not bad yet, but getting worse. And still they came. I was firing on automatic by then. See a plane, track it, fire. Don't think about anything else. Don't think about the fires. Don't think about the bodies. Don't think about the fact that we might not make it. Just fire. My gun barrel was so hot I could see it glowing. The paint was blistering off. I was supposed to change barrels after extended firing, but there was no time. If the barrel warped or burst, so be it. Better that than let one of those bastards through. A sixth Kamikaze came in from astern, flying right up our wake. Smart approach. Our aft guns were destroyed, so we had no defense from that angle. The midship guns were trying to traverse around, but they couldn't get the angle. He was going to hit the bridge, going to kill our captain and most of our officers. I swung my 20mm around as far as it would go. It wasn't designed to fire directly aft. There were safety stops to prevent you from shooting into your own ship. But I released the stops, aimed the gun where it wasn't supposed to go, started firing. The tracers were going right past the superstructure. One slip, one wrong move, and I'd be shooting my own guys. But if I didn't stop that plane, we were all dead anyway. Got hits on him. Saw them walking up his fuselage. Then one of the 40mm mounts got free and added their fire. We shredded him. The plane disintegrated maybe 200 feet behind us. Wreckage rained down on our fantail, but the relief lasted maybe 30 seconds. Two more were coming in simultaneously. One from port, one from starboard. Coordinated attack. They'd learned, adapted, made it so we couldn't concentrate fire on just one. The port side guns engaged their target. The starboard guns engaged theirs. Everyone firing at once. The ship was heeling with all the gunfire, the recoil actually pushing us through the water. We got the port one, blew him out of the sky maybe 300 yards out. The starboard one got through. He hit us near the waterline, midships. The explosion was below me, but I felt it through the deck. The ship lurched. The list got worse, much worse. Water was pouring in through the hole. We were taking on serious flooding now. The damage control parties were trying to shore up bulkheads, stop the flooding, but it wasn't enough. The Laffey was dying under us. Captain Beckton's voice came over the 1MC again. Still calm, still steady. Damage control parties report. All guns keep firing. We will not abandon ship. I repeat, we will not abandon ship. An eighth Kamikaze came in. This one was burning already. Somebody had hit him on his way in, but he was still flying. Still aimed right at us, a flying bomb wrapped in flames. He hit our number 2 stack. The explosion blew the stack apart, sent debris everywhere. Shrapnel tore through the deck. A piece the size of my hand embedded itself in the bulkhead 6 inches from my head. I didn't stop firing. Couldn't. The minute you stopped, the minute you thought about what was happening, you'd freeze up. You'd break. So I kept firing. Ammunition runners were bringing up more belts for my gun. Kids, some of them. 17, 18 years old. Running through the smoke and fire to keep us supplied. One of them took shrapnel while making a run. Went down hard. His buddy didn't even stop. Just grabbed the ammunition boxes and kept going. Had to. We needed those bullets more than we needed to help the wounded. That's what it came to. Cold calculus. The wounded would have to wait. The dead would have to wait. Everything waited except the guns, because they kept coming. The Kamikazes kept coming. I lost count after 8 hits. Could have been 9, could have been 10. The ship was a wreck, on fire stem to stern, listing badly. Dead in the water. The engine room had flooded, both screws stopped. We couldn't maneuver, couldn't run, even if we wanted to. We were a sitting duck, and they were still coming. A Zero came straight down in a vertical dive, like a hawk stooping on prey. Every gun we had left fired at him. The sky around him was solid flak. Couldn't see how anything could fly through it. But he did. came right through the flak, right through everything we threw at him. He was aiming for the bridge, going to finish us, kill our captain, break our command structure. I fired my entire remaining belt at him, 200 rounds in less than 10 seconds, saw hits sparking all over him, his canopy shattered, one wing folded back. He missed the bridge by maybe 10 feet, slammed into the water off our port side. Close, too close. I slumped against my gun, exhausted, shaking. My hands were raw from gripping the firing handles. My ears were bleeding from the noise. My face was burned from the heat of the barrel. Looked at my watch again. 1,030 hours. We'd been under continuous attack for nearly 2 hours. 22 kamikaze attacks. Some we'd splashed. Some had hit us. The Laffy had taken at least 6 direct hits, maybe more. Bomb hits, crashes. We should have been on the bottom. But we were still afloat, still fighting. And finally, the attacks stopped. The sky was empty. No more dots on the horizon. The kamikazes had either expended themselves or been shot down or called back. We'd survived, barely. The silence after the attack was almost worse than the noise during it. No more gunfire, no more explosions, just the crackle of flames, the hiss of water on hot metal, and the moans of wounded men. I stood at my gun, hands still gripping the handles, staring at the empty sky. Couldn't quite believe it was over. Kept expecting to see more planes, kept waiting for the next attack, but none came. "Cease fire," someone said over the 1MC. "All guns, cease fire. Damage control parties, report status." I let go of my gun. My hands were cramping. Had to physically pry my fingers off the grips. They'd been locked in that position for 2 hours straight. The Laffy looked like she'd gone through a meat grinder. Both stacks were destroyed. The aft section was a twisted wreck. Fires were burning everywhere. The deck was covered in shell casings, spent ammunition, debris, blood. We were listing about 15 degrees to port, taking on water, dead in the water with no power. The casualties were everywhere. Bodies covered with blankets. Wounded men lying on the deck waiting for the medics. The sick bay was overwhelmed. They'd set up a triage station on the deck, doing emergency surgery right there in the open. 31 men dead, over 70 wounded, out of a crew of 336. Nearly a third of our crew killed or wounded in 2 hours. I found my ammunition runner, the kid who'd kept bringing me belts throughout the attack. He was sitting against a bulkhead, shaking, looked shell-shocked. He couldn't have been more than 17. "You did good, kid," I told him. He didn't respond, just stared straight ahead. I'd seen that look before. He'd broken somewhere during the attack. His body was still here, but his mind had checked out. Couldn't blame him. We'd all broken a little bit. A tug arrived around noon to take us in tow. We couldn't make it under our own power. The engine room was flooded, both boilers damaged. We were lucky to be floating at all. As they rigged the tow lines, I looked around at what was left of our ship. Every gun mount was damaged. Most were destroyed entirely. My 20mm had a cracked barrel from overheating. The 40mm next to me had taken a direct hit. Everyone in that crew was dead. We'd fired over 4,000 rounds of 5-inch ammunition, thousands more from the 40mm and 20mm guns, every bullet, every shell we had, and it still almost wasn't enough. The tug started pulling us back toward Okinawa, slow going. We were taking on water faster than the pumps could handle it. The damage control parties were working frantically to keep us afloat, shoring up bulkheads, patching holes, fighting fires. Captain Beckton was everywhere, checking on his crew, coordinating the damage control efforts, making sure the wounded were cared for. He'd kept us together during the attack, kept us fighting when any sane person would have ordered abandoned ship. He'd promised we wouldn't sink. He was right. The trip back took hours. We were barely moving. I spent most of it helping with the wounded, holding pressure on wounds, giving water to men who asked for it, closing the eyes of men who didn't make it. Tommy Briggs from the aft 5-inch mount. We'd gone through boot camp together. He'd taken shrapnel during one of the hits, bled out before the medics could get to him. I'd eaten breakfast with him that morning, listened to him talk about his girl back home, how he was going to propose when he got leave. Now he was under a blanket on the deck, another number added to the casualty list. This was different from Pearl Harbor stories I'd heard, different from the other battles we'd been in. This wasn't surprise attack. This wasn't conventional warfare. This was men who'd already decided to die trying to take us with them, flying bombs with human guidance systems. You couldn't intimidate them, couldn't make them break off. They were already committed, already dead. How do you fight that? How do you defend against an enemy who doesn't care about survival, who sees death as victory? We'd survived because we'd shot down most of them before they could hit us, because our gunners were good, because we got lucky, but mostly because we refused to quit, refused to sink. But we couldn't do this again. The Laffey was finished. She'd need months of repairs. Maybe they'd scrap her entirely. And even if they fixed her, I wasn't sure the crew could take another attack like that. I wasn't sure I could. We finally made it to Karama-Reto, a small anchorage near Okinawa, around 1700 hours. The repair ships immediately swarmed us, assessing damage, beginning emergency repairs. The wounded were transferred to hospital ships. The dead were taken ashore for burial. That night, I lay in my rack, one of the few berthing spaces that wasn't destroyed, and stared at the overhead. Couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them coming, saw those planes diving at us, saw the young pilot's face, calm and peaceful as he aimed himself at my ship. They'd sent boys to die, kids barely old enough to shave, convinced them that dying for the Emperor was glorious, that crashing their planes into American ships was the highest honor. And they'd believed it, actually believed it. What kind of war makes boys volunteer for suicide missions? What kind of desperation drives a nation to use its own children as guided missiles? I didn't have answers. Still don't. All I knew was that we'd survived. Against impossible odds, the Laffey had survived. The ship they couldn't sink. That's what they'd call us later. But surviving wasn't the same as winning. Wasn't the same as being okay. We'd survived. But we'd left pieces of ourselves on that ship, in those 2 hours of hell off Okinawa. My breaking point came 3 days later. They'd patched up the Laffey enough to keep her afloat. We were anchored in Karama-Reto while they decided whether to repair her on site or send her back to the States. Most of the crew had been reassigned, too many wounded, too much trauma. But some of us stayed to help with the salvage operations. I volunteered, didn't know what else to do. Going back to another ship meant going through it all over again. The Kamikazes weren't stopping. If anything, they were getting worse. Every ship on picket duty was getting hit. The destroyers were being chewed up. At least on the Laffey, the worst had already happened. I was helping clear debris from the aft section when I found him. One of the Kamikaze pilots. He'd been thrown clear when his plane hit us. Must have survived the impact, been blown into the water. Somehow ended up wedged in our damaged hull when we listed. The repair crews hadn't noticed him. He'd been there for 3 days. Dead, of course. He was young. Couldn't have been more than 19. His flight suit was burned, torn. His face was intact, though. Peaceful. Like he was sleeping. There was a photograph in his breast pocket, partially waterlogged, but I could make it out. A family, mother, father, 2 younger sisters. Everyone smiling. Normal people. Could have been any family back in Georgia. This kid had a family. Had people who loved him. and he'd thrown himself at our ship, deliberately. Killed himself to try to kill us. Why? I stood there holding that photograph, staring at this dead boy's face, and something inside me just broke. I started shaking. Couldn't stop. Then crying. Just sobbing like a child. All the fear and anger and confusion from the attack came pouring out. We'd killed him. I'd probably fired some of the bullets that hit his plane. I'd helped kill this kid who looked like he should be in high school, not flying a suicide mission. But he'd been trying to kill us. Would have killed us if we hadn't stopped him and all the others. 22 separate attempts to murder our entire crew. Both things were true, and neither made it make sense. Chief Petty Officer Davis found me there, gently took the photograph from my hands. Come on, Webb. Let's get you out of here. He led me away from the wreckage, sat me down, let me cry it out. Didn't try to tell me it was okay or that it would get better. Just sat there. I killed kids, I finally said. Some of those pilots I shot down, they were just kids. They were trying to kill us, Davis said quietly. You did your job. You saved lives. But they were kids. Somebody's son, somebody's brother. So are you. So is every man on this ship. He was right, logically. But logic didn't help. Didn't make the image of that pilot's face go away. Didn't make me stop seeing his family photograph. That night, I had my first nightmare. I was in my gun mount, firing at incoming planes. But when I hit them, they didn't explode. They just kept coming. And as they got closer, I could see the pilots' faces. Young faces. Kids. All with that same peaceful expression. They crashed into the ship one after another, and I couldn't stop them. Just kept firing and firing, but they kept coming. I woke up screaming. Woke up half the berthing compartment. The nightmares came every night after that. They sent me to see the ship's doctor a week later. He diagnosed me with combat fatigue, battle stress. Said I needed rest. Recommended I be transferred stateside for recovery. I refused at first. Felt like I'd be abandoning my shipmates. The guys who'd survived the attack with me, we'd been through hell together. Didn't feel right to leave them. But Chief Davis sat me down. Webb, you're no good to anyone like this. You're jumping at every loud noise, haven't slept properly in a week. You need help. I'm fine, I lied. No, you're not. And that's okay. Nobody who went through what we went through is fine. But you can either get help now, or you can break completely and be no use to anyone. He was right. I knew he was right. They transferred me off the Laffey in early May, sent me to a hospital in Pearl Harbor, then eventually back to the States. Medical discharge, honorable, with commendations for my service during the attack. I should have felt relieved. I was going home. The war was over for me, but I felt like a coward, like I was running away. The Laffey would eventually be repaired and returned to service. My buddies would keep fighting, and I'd be safe at home. The guilt ate at me. The last time I saw the Laffey, she was listing in that anchorage, blackened and broken, but still afloat, still flying her colors, the ship that wouldn't sink. She'd survived. We'd survived. But survival had a cost I was only beginning to understand. That dead pilot's face haunted me, his family's photograph. All the pilots I'd shot down during the attack. They were trying to kill me, yes. But they were also victims. Victims of a system that convinced them death was glorious, that suicide was honor. And I'd helped send them to that death, both executioner and victim, killer and survivor, hero and haunted. War makes you both, makes you everything at once, and you have to live with all of it. It's 1965 now, 20 years since that morning off Okinawa. I'm 42 years old, live in Atlanta, work as a machinist at a factory, Married for 15 years. Got 3 kids, 2 boys and a girl. From the outside, I looked like any other middle-aged veteran who did his duty and moved on with his life. But I never moved on. Not really. The nightmares are less frequent now. Maybe once or twice a month instead of every night. But they're still vivid. Still the same dream. Planes coming at me. Pilots' faces visible in the cockpits. Crashing into the ship over and over while I fire uselessly at them. I wake up my wife sometimes, thrashing in my sleep. She's learned to wake me gently, from a distance. Learned not to touch me when I'm having a nightmare. I came up swinging once in the early years of our marriage, nearly hit her. The look of fear on her face, that hurt worse than anything the Japanese did to me. I can't watch war movies. My kids wanted to see In Harm's Way when it came out this year. John Wayne and Kirk Douglas, big naval warfare picture. I couldn't do it. The sound of the explosions, the planes diving, it was too much. Had to leave the theater. My oldest son, he's 16 now. He asked me why. The war, I told him. I was in the Pacific. Did you see action? Yes. Did you get wounded? Not physically. He didn't understand. How could he? He's 16, lives in a world where war is John Wayne movies and adventure comics, where the good guys always win and death is clean and heroic. I can't explain to him what it's really like. Can't tell him about standing at a gun for 2 hours straight, firing at men who are trying to kill themselves on your ship. Can't describe what it's like to shoot down a plane and know you just killed a kid barely older than him. Can't tell him that I still see their faces. I found out later, years later, that the Laffey survived the war. They repaired her, sent her back into service. She made it all the way through without sinking. After the war, they kept her in service through Korea, through the Cold War. She's a museum ship now, in South Carolina. A memorial. The ship that would not die, they call her. I've never gone to see her. Can't. The thought of walking those decks again, seeing those gun mounts, standing where I stood that morning, I can't do it. Maybe someday. But not yet. Some of the other survivors keep in touch. We have a sort of informal association. Write letters. Call each other on anniversaries. April 16th every year, somebody calls. We don't talk about much. Just check in. Make sure everyone's still here. Still holding on. Tommy Jenkins. He was on the 40mm mount next to mine. He killed himself in 1952. Hung himself in his garage. His wife found him. The note he left just said, "I'm tired." That was it. Just tired. I understood. God help me, I understood. There are days when I'm tired too. Tired of the memories. Tired of the nightmares. Tired of jumping every time a plane flies overhead. Tired of seeing that dead pilot's face, his family's photograph. But I've got a wife who loves me, kids who need me, a life that's worth living even if part of me is still stuck on that ship. The Kamikazes. We learned after the war that over 3,800 of them died. Young men, boys, really, convinced that dying for the emperor was the ultimate honor. Thousands of Japanese pilots flew their last mission, knowing they'd never land. And they killed thousands of our sailors, sank dozens of ships, damaged hundreds more. The USS Bunker Hill, the USS Franklin, they took massive casualties from kamikaze attacks. Some ships lost over 700 men in a single attack. It was a desperate tactic from a desperate nation. They were losing, and they knew it. So they threw away their young men in a last-ditch effort to make us quit, to make the cost too high. It almost worked. The casualty rates on picket duty were horrific. Nobody wanted that assignment. Everyone knew what it meant. But we didn't quit. We kept fighting, kept dying, until they finally surrendered in August. I was in the hospital when I heard about the atomic bombs. Hiroshima, Nagasaki. Part of me felt sick, all those civilians. But another part felt relief. Relief that it was over. That we wouldn't have to invade Japan. Wouldn't have to face the thousands more kamikazes they'd have thrown at us. That's what war does. Makes you grateful for atomic bombs because at least it means you won't have to shoot down more kids flying suicide missions. I don't talk about the war much. People thank me for my service sometimes. I just nod and smile. What else can I do? Tell them I'm not a hero? That I have nightmares about the men I killed? That I found a dead enemy pilot's family photo and it broke me? They don't want to hear that. They want the clean story, the heroic story, the ship that would not die and the brave gunners who saved her. And maybe that's okay. Maybe that's the story that needs to be told. The story of courage and determination and refusing to give up even when everything says you should. But there's another story, too. The one that doesn't get told. The story of the cost. Of the 31 men who died that day. Of the 70 who were wounded. Of the survivors who made it through physically but left parts of themselves on that burning deck. Of the enemy pilots who died trying to kill us. Boys with families, boys who'd been told that death was glorious. Both sides lost that day. Both sides bled. The kamikazes didn't sink us, but they damaged us in ways that can't be repaired. Not the ship. U.S., the crew, the survivors. 20 years later, and I still count planes when I hear them overhead. Still tense up when I hear explosions. Even fireworks make me anxious. Still wake up some nights with my heart racing, convinced I'm back at that gun mount, watching them come. The Laffy survived, I survived, but survival isn't victory, it's just survival. There's a difference between making it through and being okay, between living through something and living after it. I made it through April 16th, 1945, but part of me never left that ship. Never left that gun mount. Never stopped firing at planes that keep coming and coming and coming. The attack lasted 2 hours. The aftermath has lasted 20 years. And it will last the rest of my life. People talk about the greatest generation now. The men who won World War II, the heroes. And maybe we were. Maybe we did something great. But greatness has a price. And the price is carrying those 2 hours with you forever. Carrying the faces of the men who died trying to kill you. Carrying the weight of survival when so many others didn't make it. I'm proud of what we did that day. Proud that we didn't quit. Proud that the Laffy didn't sink. But I'm also haunted by it. By the cost. By the faces. By the knowledge that war doesn't have winners and losers. Just survivors and casualties. And sometimes the survivors are casualties too. We just don't show up in the official count. The USS Laffy took 6 kamikaze hits and 4 bomb hits that morning. Absorbed more damage than any destroyer should be able to survive. But the real damage wasn't to the steel. It was to the men. To the boys who stood at those guns and fought off 22 suicide attacks in 2 hours. We kept the ship afloat. But we've been sinking ever since. Just slower. Quieter. In ways that don't make the history books. The ship that wouldn't die, and the men who survived but never quite came back.